rise and shine.
Welcome back, your favorite morning show on a Monday. But today is a special Monday indeed, as we had the long weekend. And the reason behind today being a holiday is today is the Binara Poya Day, and the Bhikkhuni Sasana was formed on a day like today back in the times. And when it comes to Poya Days, we do brief you, we do bring you the updates, the information that you need to know when it comes to having that life that you are waiting for, and also to enhance your spirituality. And to do that, we do have Mr. Vipula Wanigasekera, Senior Lecturer of NSBM Green University, today as well on the show. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes, so let's straight move to the importance of, we've been talking a lot when it comes to poetry with regards to the religion, the philosophies, and also the experience. And with all these combined together, what is the importance of explaining the concept of life?
Yes, the nature of existence, the nature of life continues to be inexplicable, so to say, whatever the way you look at it. And I saw it yesterday in the news that the scientists have discovered, it is called parapsychism, and this is a new word that I have seen. And based on that theory, they have found out that the universe is conscious of itself. Mm-hmm. Now, what does it mean? And the intelligence of the universe is said to be far too bigger than, the human brain. And also like, a bird making a nest. Where does that intelligence comes from? So that kind of thing. And in my own discourses, I used to say the existence, the life, is perfectly imperfect or imperfectly perfect. It is perfect because there is existence. So existence seems to be continuing. So therefore it has to be perfect. It is imperfect because there is duality, because, nothing is, like right. Rich and poor, and the people with sicknesses and the people who are healthy, and the haves and have-nots. So therefore, it is imperfect. So it's unfathomable. So it is because of that the religions, the philosophies, the science, all these things have come into being to explain what this life and existence is all about. But religions is very straightforward. It's faith-based. It's based on a belief, and there's a creator, and the creator has laid down a set of rules, and you are supposed to follow them. And life thereafter is, you have day of judgment, and so on. Philosophies would take you a little further, and the philosophies urge people to investigate and find out things from different viewpoints. And that's about philosophy. There is science. In fairness to science, I think most of the discoveries, like medical science, it has helped to prolong the lifespan of the human beings. And then, we have been able to eliminate a lot of diseases. But having said that, science also has limitations, because I don't know how far it will take for science to discover something, for man to be immortal, so to live forever, kind of. And also, like, if you go into studies of solar systems, galaxies, and earlier they used to say we have billion galaxies, now they say it's trillion galaxies. Suddenly, overnight, it has become trillion galaxies. And also the light that comes from the closest star, it takes 4 light years. So, for instance, if a star explodes, and we will know only after 4 years, because it will disappear from. So there again, the science has its own limitations, and also, like, we have not been able to eliminate poverty, with the science. We have not been able to discover a pill which will, pull people out of malnutrition, that sort of thing. So there again, once again, that is science. The modern spiritual leaders are not dealing with any of those, and they take the experience and they urge people to investigate your own experience. So you start with yourself and your life story, and then thereafter you turn attention to yourself and you try to analyze your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and that's another journey. So all these things are there to understand what life is all about.
So how much of those avenues should you incorporate into your own lives to have a, meaningful life?
Well, but that is how you define a meaningful life.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you look at the human model in the world today, people believe that to have a meaningful life, you have to have wealth, you have to have publicity, you have to have a nice house, you have to have a nice car. That is how the success is defined, or meaningful life is defined. So it all depends on how you, kind of develop your own self. And this is a discovery. This is a kind of a seeking, spiritual seeking. And so you have all these things available, the religions to philosophies to science to experience. And anyone who is interested, it's there.
Well, when it comes to Buddhism or any other religion, what sort of a path that you suggest, what sort of guidelines that you can give to a spiritual seeker?
Yeah, well, I don't think I have the competence to lead anyone to tread on a particular path, because there are fundamental issues in the word itself. When you say seeking, seeking means you are implying that you need to know something. That means your present moment, your now, this moment is unsatisfactory, and therefore you have to seek something. So there itself is a problem. And secondly, what exactly are you seeking? And we have this famous word called enlightenment. So people think that there is some state where it's an exotic and some extraordinary experience where you will be free from suffering, you will be free from all that. Is it really true? That's the second problem, when you advocate someone to tread on a particular path. And the third one is, how sincere are you when you embark on this spiritual seeking? Because I know a lot of people, I come across a lot of people, they learn a lot, and the inner motive is to display your knowledge about whether it is Dhamma or philosophy or whatever, and that is knowledge. So what is the inner motive when you embark on spiritual seeking? So all these things come into play. I would probably say you start from zero, and that is the best, because if you start your spiritual seeking from a particular foundation, whether it's a religious foundation or some philosophical foundation which you have got from your parents or from your teachers, you tend to make a mistake from the very beginning. But if you start from zero, there's a chance that
you have enough space to
exactly. And it's not like someone living in a well and all you see is whatever that is your surrounding inside the well, but you need to come out to see the rest.
Yeah, with that, even with the known being a factor, starting from zero, there is the unknown, there is the unknowability of some certain aspects. So how do you explain that, especially in Buddhist philosophy?
That is precisely why Lord Buddha, in one instance, in one of the discourses, there is someone who was keen to know the beginning of the world and the end of the world, and the beginning of the mankind, and all these kind of questions. And Lord Buddha compared it to a man shot by an arrow, a poisoned arrow, and he said, when a person is shot by a poisoned arrow, what would he do? And when people gather to take him to a physician, the person will say, no, I am not allowing anyone to treat me unless I know who shot this, unless I know the height of the person or the color of the person who shot this arrow. And so he compared that question to this simile to show that, there is always unknowability. The human brain does not have the capacity to know anything. But wisdom is different. Wisdom is knowing yourself. So that's why Buddha advocated always you turn the attention to yourself. And if you look at most of the Lokottara sutras, like Anatta Lankan Sutra, Ananda Sutra, Rohitassa Sutra, it's all about yourself, Find out who you are and what you are, and see whether this identity that you think who you are is really true, or is it just a costume, or is it's really you? And look at your thoughts and see whether you can find yourself there. Look at your feelings and see whether yourself. But these things keep changing. So then, who is you? And that kind of a investigation is not really knowledge. It's emanating from wisdom. And sometimes the language is also not that strong to explain, to say that this body is not yours. You can't understand that. And if someone says, "Do you choose your thoughts?" It can't be understood because it's not knowledge.
Well, you being a senior lecturer and you've been getting involved with different sectors in the country, especially with the youth as a lecturer. What do you think about the Sri Lankan youth getting into this particular sector, as in like involving with the spirituality, getting in order to enhance their spirituality, seeking for the philosophy? What do you think that the Sri Lankan youth is directed in the correct path?
Yes, as a lecturer, I have this dilemma of having to play this dual role. One is to, of course, teach them and put them in the right path and, continue with their career or whatever they are looking for. And on the other hand, there is also a necessity for you to show them the true nature of life out there. Because sometimes you give them all kinds of, these business theories, the leadership theories, the motivational theories, but when they go out there, they see something different happening. Like what I said, the universal intelligence, it's completely different. And I sometimes used to say, we teach them leadership theories, but we also need to teach them followers theory also, because not all become leaders. So you have this, the problem of, showing them the true nature of the life, society, and eventually what they are confronting as they go on. So that's how you deal with this situation.
So now you talked about spiritualism. What is your definition of a spiritual person, or spiritualism more accurately?
There are so many definitions. Sometimes you call it a search for the sacred. Some people call it a path to freedom, and some people call it finding yourself. There are so many definitions. At the end, why people get into spirituality is probably, it may not necessarily be some out of curiosity. You just try to find out, what these people. In fact, that's how I got into this, because I was just curious. As a young lad, I used to go and follow all these discussions and listen to them. What are they saying when people say there is no experience behind the experience? It's only the experience. I was trying to fathom out what they're saying. Others who have gone through immense suffering, whether it is physical or psychological suffering, then they realize that there is a need to look at life from a different point of view, and they get into spirituality triggered by the suffering that they have gone through. And probably, if they are lucky enough, they'll see that yes, there is suffering, but there is no sufferer.
Well, when it comes to this spirituality, as you did mention, there are a lot of definitions. Some people tend to get into that because of losing one's maybe loved ones, or like suffering physically and mentally as well. But some people, they tend to think that getting rid of the reality from the world, from their loved ones, from what they love to do and everything, leading a simple life. Is this the spirituality? Is this what they might be seeking for?
Not exactly. Leading a simple life means, detaching from all the luxury things. That is just a concept. There's nothing wrong in what you do. But what is important is whether you are conscious of the fact that that this is not what I think is true. For instance, if someone wants to use a Jaguar or a Lamborghini, there's nothing wrong in that because it helps one way or another the economy of somebody has to make the car for someone to use it. So there's nothing wrong in, so this leading a simple life should reflect in the behavior of the person. There's nothing wrong in what you do and how you live. But if you use it as a, like a costume, and then, if you use it to show your image, that is something that is not really necessary.
Yeah. Now, you talked about, when you talked about spiritualism, you talked about faith, taking things on faith. Now, when you're going down that path, how do you make sure that you don't police yourself not to lead astray by, false beliefs or superstitions that are very extravagant?
Then I'm treading a bit of a slippery path if I speak on this subject, because people do a lot of things based on faith.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or wrong it's up to them. But from the Buddhist perspective, Lord Buddha himself has said that don't believe anything, even if it is written in scriptures, or even if you hear it, from someone else, and even if it is said by me. That's a very powerful statement. Just because I say don't believe it, you investigate and try to analyze yourself. So that's how all religions have a philosophic aspect of the religion, and I would probably urge such people who believe in things, look at the same scriptures. There are philosophical aspects. Even the Christians, for instance, somewhere, I think it's under Matthew, Jesus Christ said, lose yourself to find yourself. What does it mean? So it can't be understood with knowledge. So everything has a philosophical aspect.
So Buddhism says to, more investigation.
Investigation and investigation of self, which is the easiest things to do, rather than trying to
outside, just
what is happening outside.
Yes, well, with that it's time for us to wrap things up. But meanwhile, what we intend to do with Mr. Vipula Wanigasekera every 4 days have been to give you that guidance that you need when it comes to seeking spirituality and to enhance your life, to check whether you are in the correct path. So we guess that we did it today as well when it comes to today being Friday. And we thank Mr. Vipula Wanigasekera, Senior Lecturer of NSPM Green University, for being with us today on Rise and Shine.
Thank you very much.
And with that, it's time for us to wrap things up, isn't it?
Yeah, it is time to wrap things up. Have a great poetry and have a blessed poetry. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition. See you
Take
then.
care. Have a great day.